Mind-controlled bees. Yes, they're real. Hey guys, Britt here. Welcome to End Times Bible Prophecy. And my wife Jenny passed this along to me and said, "Is this real?" And I looked into the story and yes, it's very real. China has created mind-controlled bees. And in this video, we're going to talk about exactly what they've done and how I believe it relates to Bible prophecy. But first, in case you missed it over at the Substack at brittgillette.substack.com, yesterday we posted this interview right here where I talked with Pablo Frassini of the Serpents and Doves Journal over at Substack, so make sure to check that out. We talked about a whole host of items, including AI, quantum computing, apathy in the church over the second coming of Jesus Christ, but all these topics we talked about related to the fact Jesus is coming, and most importantly, how we should be living our lives knowing that, and how we should urgently be sharing the good news of Jesus Christ. So, back to what we're talking about. Mind-controlled bees in China. I believe this is a big deal, and I believe that this is foreshadowing events that are soon to come that will fulfill end times Bible prophecy. So let's take a look at this right here. This is from the South China Morning Post. It says, Chinese scientists create first cyborg bee with world's lightest brain controller. It says, Chinese-made device can command the movements of bees, making them ideal to help search for survivors in earthquake ruins, scientists say. So they go, oh, yeah, we're creating cyborg bees, manipulating their behavior, and yeah, we're doing this for your benefit so they can search for earthquake survivors, right? This is how they push all of these crazy things that they're doing that, of course, have military applications and threaten your life and your privacy and your freedom. And they go, but we're going to use it for this good purpose, right? And you're supposed to say, isn't that wonderful? So there's a little bit more on the story over here at Interesting Engineering. They say China mind controls bees with world's lightest brain chip for spying and rescue ops. A new device weighing only 74 milligrams hooks right into the insect's brain to control their movements. When we read down, it says, in a bid to harness the incredible efficiency of natural selection. No, that's not what this is. And copying God's amazing design, human beings are trying to distort something that God created to help pollinate crops. We're going to use that for nefarious purposes. That's what this is really all about. But it says a team from the Beijing Institute of Technology, led by Professor Zhao Ling, developed a system that wires right into insects' brains. The device is strapped to a bee's back. 3 needles pierce the bee's brain, and electronic pulses then command it to fly in specific directions. During tests, the bees obeyed these commands 90% of the time. So they can make it fly left, fly right, go forward, backward, whatever they want it to do. Prior to this new advancement, the lightest cyborg controller developed in Singapore was triple the weight. That device could command beetles and roaches. However, the extra weight meant they became tired very quickly. Now, with their more lightweight device, the team from China believes that system could allow mind-controlled bees to serve as military scouts, right? So here they're set in the South China Morning Post. They said, oh, look, they're going to search for survivors in earthquake ruins. Of course, we get a much more honest reporting over here at Interesting Engineering, military scouts. So there's major military applications to this technology. It says the team published their findings in a paper published June 11th in the Chinese Journal of Mechanical Engineering. It says for their sci-fi-like system, the team printed circuits on polymer film. This film is as thin and flexible as insect wings, but it's capable of housing tiny computer chips. During their tests, the scientists were able to make bees move in different directions and roaches trace long predetermined paths. Quote, insect-based robots inherit the superior mobility, camouflage capabilities, and environmental adaptability of their biological host, wrote Zhao and his colleagues. A few hurdles do remain. Bees require wired power, while roaches tire after 10 zaps from the system. Battery systems also add weight that would tire the insects. Still, the team believes their device could be refined to allow them, this is the same language they use when they talk about central bank digital currency and digital IDs. And we're going to allow people to do this, right? That it's going to benefit them. We're going to include them. So here they're saying, we're going to allow the insects. We're going to include the insect. Well, you're not allowing the insects. The insects aren't making a decision to have 3 needles pierce into their brain so they can be controlled by a human. You're just doing it to them. But it says the team believes their device could be refined to make insects perform search operations. They could, for example, search for survivors after an earthquake, or they could search for enemy troops, right? It says while the technology could be used for good, it also raises concerns over the potential for a new type of surveillance state where every insect is potentially a spy. Quote, compared to synthetic alternatives, they demonstrate enhanced stealth and extended operational endurance, making them invaluable for covert reconnaissance in scenarios such as urban combat, counterterrorism, and narcotics interdiction, as well as critical disaster relief operations, the researchers added. And of course, all this true. Imagine troops out in the field able to release bees. They blend into the environment. They're small, they're nimble, they can get into all sorts of different places, and that can help scout the area for them. So we can see why this would prove very valuable. But again, this is taking God's design, it's sort of piggybacking on that. But ultimately, I think this points to where things are headed, because this isn't the first time we've talked about this with China. So we had this article back at the beginning of July, so a month ago today, really. It was titled AI, Drone Swarms and the End Times, the Emerging Weapons Set to Dominate the Tribulation Battlefield. I'll pin a link to this at the top of the comments as well if you want to go read this, if you missed this at the time. But it's talking about how we're seeing not only this move toward drones on the battlefield, but what those drones of the future are going to look like. Because right now, when people think of drones, they think of this right here. And when they think of a swarm of drones, they think of, well, a whole bunch of these drones. Hey, that makes a swarm. But that's not what's right around the corner. The rapid innovation we're seeing means that the drones are more going to look like this, these mosquito-sized drones. So rather than simply hijacking a bee's brain, in this case, the entire mosquito is a drone, but to the regular human being walking around out of the corner of their eye, they're going to think this is a real mosquito. And we see them doing the same thing with ants. So again, you can play this video and watch these things roll this ball. They can move all around. They're doing this with mechanical bees and all sorts of other things. Birds, again, this is what China was doing and what brought this. We had China develop this bird drone that flies around for reconnaissance. It actually has munitions that it can carry, I believe up to 2 of those. But to the average person walking around, this is going to look like a bird flying through the air. It mimics in every way the wingspan, the flight of a bird. And doesn't make the buzzing sound or anything like that. In fact, that the way you figure out mostly that this is a drone is that there's no chirping. There is no sound. So if there's a whole bunch of these things, but you don't hear the noises that birds usually do, you can figure out it's a drone. And then they do the same thing with fish. And again, this looks like a real fish, but it's a drone. And it glides through the water in the same way that a fish does. So we're seeing this move toward drones that mimic God's design, blend into the environment, act in a decentralized fashion, increasingly powered and controlled by AI. So they're able to learn and adapt on the battlefield. And guys, as we see these scale up, and that's the key, we have that they need to be able to create these drones en masse at low cost. Once they can do that, and of course AI is making tremendous leaps every day, and as AI is incorporated into these more and more, well, they become a threat to the doctrine of mutual assured destruction. And as we see these drones deployed particularly into the world's oceans, so that they become a threat to nuclear-armed submarines and the ability of those submarines to hide themselves from their adversaries, the mutual assured destruction goes out the window, and we end up with global empire. And so that should make your ears perk up, because that's where the technologies say all of this is headed. And the Bible also tells us we're headed toward global empire, that one man will control the entire world, every people, nation, language, and tongue. We read that in Revelation chapter 13, verse 7. So that's where the world is headed. We see the technology today taking us there. Now, I don't believe the world is going to be overrun by mind-controlled bees, but it gives us a glimpse into what is coming, what the next generation of weapons are. And when I say next generation of weapons, I'm not talking 100 years from now. I'm talking months, years from now, single-digit years from now. We're going to be seeing all of these things deployed on the battlefield, and it's going to completely alter the balance of power on the globe to the point where, again, I believe mutual assured destruction flies out the window. We have World War III, and contrary to popular belief, there will be a victor in World War III. It will not lead to the destruction of all of humanity. It will lead to the creation of a global empire, and the Antichrist will stand astride that global empire. So let me know what you think. Leave your comments below. Really creepy story. Again, a reminder, head over to the Substack at brittgillette.substack.com. Check out this interview that posted yesterday with Pablo Forsini. This isn't on the other platforms yet. I like to give all the guests, this is only the second guest we've had. I want people to be able to speak freely, knowing they won't be censored over on the Substack. So this may or may not appear on the other platforms in the future, but make sure to check this out if you want to see this today. It's up, available, free for anybody to watch over at brittgillette.substack.com. So, again, mind-controlled bees. And we have to ask ourselves, are these things real? Because we live in a world of deception where there's all sorts of AI articles and videos and just fake things put out in the news all the time. But this is very real. You can do your own research and you can find dozens and dozens of articles on how they've done this. And again, this isn't the first we've seen of hijacking the minds of insects or mimicking God's design of insects in order to create drone replicas of bees, locusts, mosquitoes, all sorts of things. Just about every animal we see in nature, we're seeing humanity copy that design, turn it into a drone. More and more, we're going to see those drones powered by AI. And whoever controls that AI, controls those drones, I believe, controls the whole world. And it's not just me that believes that. Vladimir Putin said the same thing back in 2017. He said, whoever becomes the leader in AI will rule the world. As that's what's coming. That's what the Bible tells us is coming. Forget what Vladimir Putin says or I say or anybody else says. The Bible tells us such a time is coming. We can see it on the horizon with these technologies. So make sure that you're busy sharing the good news of Jesus Christ with as many people as possible, because guys, Jesus is coming back, and he's coming back soon. So let me know what you think. Leave your comments below, and God willing, I will see you on Monday. Bye.